this is the slide that shows the table of contents on a downloadable PDF that you can get online. I frankly did not put too much thought into creating this particular PDF, thinking that the interest level that people have will be limited at best. I certainly did not think that it would become a subject that so many people have expressed interest about. So I didn't really pay it a lot of attention. Now that people are asking about it, of course I'm happy to explain. Of course I'm happy to get into it in greater detail as may be useful for everyone. So one question that you may have if you're hearing about this for the first time is that, well, this PDF, this downloadable PDF, where can I get that? First of all, if you are here at the temple in person and you go through if you choose to go through the initiation ritual, you will end up with a copy of the book, the actual printed book. If not, you can still download from the internet. So let me show you where you can find that. So we'll bring back the browser again. So you are now looking at Tao Talks with Derek Lin. This is, as I mentioned, this is the group where people will, after this meeting, people will go into it to see where the video archives are, where the posting of the latest recording. Now, if you look down a little bit further, you will also see that there are resources that are being offered. So thanks to Mark. Mark has put up a link. When we talked about the ritual, he went ahead and put up a link here. As you can see, Iguan Dao Rituals PDF, and then you can click on download to download. This is a fairly simple process, of course, and all you got to do is that you can do a search on Tao Talks with Derek Lin, request membership. Myself and Mark will approve as quickly as possible, and then you will then be able to see everything here and then be able to download. All right, so back to the book itself. What's in the book? First of all, the entire book is laid out this way with Chinese on the left-hand side and English on the right-hand side. So if you aren't sure what the Chinese says, all you got to do is to look at the English. There's going to be a one-to-one correspondence. I'll point out a few things here and there. So if you have studied Chinese a little bit, or just listen to me talk, you know the absolute easiest character in Chinese to master is the character for one. The character for one is a simple horizontal straight line. So you're gonna see it here, you're gonna see it here, you will see it here, you will see it here. So they all correspond to something on the right-hand side. So starting with this, if you look at these three characters, that's Iguan Dao. So the first character, I, that's the I, actually pronounced like Y-I, and then Guan, written as K-U-A-N, pronounced as G-U-A-N, and then Dao, written as T-A-O, pronounced like D-A-O. So that's what that is. It's the path that unifies all. The uni in unify, in the word unify, that's one, that's oneness. And let me point out some simple examples here. So the I here, you'll see that it corresponds to New Year. That's because here what it says is basically the first of the year. 大年初一, the first of the year, the first day of the year. That's why it's one. And then here, you see the same two characters as here. Same two characters. So that's, again, that's the first day. Here, you have the character for 10. The character for 10 looks like a cross. Just a horizontal line and vertical line. And then that's the character for 5. If you've got 10, 5, that means 15. So, 初一十五, it means the 1st and the 15th of a month. This means the lunar calendar. So that means in a lunar calendar, the 1st of the month is always new moon, and the 15th is always full moon. So over here, because it occurs twice per month, that's why you'll see it translated here as semi-monthly worship ritual. The word worship, as I hope you remember from Bill's discussion last time, is that it's often a cause of misunderstanding. We in the West will often look at the word ritual and think about prostration, supplication, a slavish context. There's no question that in the lower echelons of the Tao practice, there are people who still think that way. That is, they regard rituals as a transactional process where they are transacting with the deity. Not real different from when we in the West ask God or Jesus for stuff. It's a transaction. Please, Jesus, this beautiful girl I'd like to date, please make her say yes, I will be good. That's a transaction there. Or, oh God, please, I have this test coming up, I must pass. I'm praying to you, I'm begging you, let me pass. And I promise that I will go to church on Sundays. Okay? Your promise with the intended results, that's a transaction. So at the lower echelons of the Tao practice, Chinese Tao cultivators do the very same thing, except it's the Buddha instead of God or Jesus. Oh Buddha, please, I need XYZ. I need please protect me, my family, and I will burn an extra stick of incense for you. Stuff like that. Again, that's a transaction. The commonality of all transactions with deities is that it's always human initiated. And agreement on the deity's part is always assumed by the human. So think about that. So, God, do we have a deal? Okay, cool. Thank you. You're always automatically assuming one-sided that the God is going to agree to that and help out. Now, what will happen if God doesn't help you out, or the Buddha doesn't help you out? Well, so we can see there's a couple of different outcomes. One, the girl says yes when you ask her off to the prom. Okay, Jesus came through, awesome. Or the girl says, no, I'm already going with my boyfriend. Okay, you're crushed. And so Jesus basically says, no, your answer, the answer to your prayer is in the negative. So what we do and what Chinese Tao cultivators do are similar. In the West, we would say that when God has answered your prayer, meaning that when your team in the NBA has prevailed over the opposing team, yes, Jesus was the sixth man on the court with us, and has come through for us. So we won this wonderful victory. Or on the football field, same thing. But if your team has lost, if the girl has said no, if you didn't pass the test, then you console yourself by saying that, well, God works in mysterious ways. God has a greater plan for me. He intended for me to fail this time, and He's saving me for greater glory down the road. So we have ways to justify that. Now, notice that I say lower echelons of Tao cultivators do the same thing, and that's because this is indeed considered to be a lower echelon of knowledge and understanding. At the higher echelons, worship, quote unquote, isn't the conventional worship anymore. Instead, it's an expression of gratitude for all the good things that's already happened in your life. So it isn't the asking for certain things, because in higher echelons, of Tao practice, the understanding is that if you do live in accordance with the Tao teachings, you cannot help but have all these great things happen in your life. And when the great things do happen in your life as a result of you adhering to the path, then you have a lot to be grateful for. Your expression of gratitude causes your spiritual energy to vibrate at a whole new level. It inspires you, it uplifts you, and you are not supplicating, prostrating, begging for something. Instead, you are expressing appreciation and gratitude. So the word worship can be very different depending on how you look at it. So there are elements of interest. I will say this for the typical beginner, for people who have not seen these rituals before, I would actually say to pay less attention to all the details, massive amounts of details in the rituals. There's a lot of repetition, they're designed that way. There's a lot of terms that's going to be completely unfamiliar because we're in a different culture. So initially, I would say don't worry too much about all the details that you find in the main body of the text, but instead focus more on the beginning parts and the ending parts, the bookends, so to speak. So glossary, as an example, at the very end can be very useful to help you with some of the specialized terms that we use, even in our philosophical Tao discussions. So there's a whole glossary in the back. You may want to download the whole thing just to be able to take a look at the glossary. I think a lot of effort has gone into the glossary, and I do believe that it will be very helpful. We'll take a look at a few later on in this introduction. And then Iguan Dao disciplines, there are 15 rules for followers of Iguan Dao to follow, to observe. That again, because there are only 15 of them, I think you will find them interesting to go through and also think about whether or not you already have elements of these 15 disciplines in your life as sort of a personal code of honor. And speaking of which, that is always a good question to ask of yourself and of other Tao cultivators. What is your personal code of honor? Now, for most people, they have an innate sense of right and wrong. They follow certain rules within themselves. They follow their conscience. But the vast majority of the people out there, possibly including yourself, have never actually taken the time to gain clarity on that, to let those rules that you already follow crystallize into actual expressions. So the challenge then becomes, can you think about what it is that you stand for, the rules that you hold yourself to, a higher standard that you hold yourself to, and can you express them succinctly? Now, you don't have to make them the same as the 15 disciplines of Iguan Dao, but it may be helpful for you to see what those 15 are. They may trigger some additional thoughts in yourself, like, that's a good idea. I should do that, or I should be that way. That is my ideal. I should live according to that. So we'll take a moment to take a look at the 15 disciplines as well. Like I said, the beginning parts and the ending parts are always going to be more important initially. The bookends are going to be what's more important between the bookends. So let's take a look at the other side. The meaning of rituals. I will be spending some time on this as well, and that's because rituals in general has, to some people, especially people who are caught by the academic study of the Tao, rituals can sometimes take on a negative connotation. Ever since I began studying the Tao, some roughly 20 years ago, up until today, I always receive questions about, but why should we worry about rituals at all? Aren't rituals the very opposite to the free-flowing Tao? You know, I get that question a lot, and I have come to answer them always in the same way, and that's with the contents of what you will see here. There's also going to be some translation notes. The translation notes specifically are talking about pronunciation, about how the words are sounded out. That's because the current systems that we have, the old system and the new system, they both have a lot of conventions that are extremely confusing to someone who has not formally studied them. So, you know, I keep saying that, well, spelled as T-A-O, but pronounced like D-A-O, Dao, not Tao, that's a confusing point of the old system. The new system has the letter Q, like Q-I-N-G, which to a native speaker of English, you would say, well, that's maybe queen or king, but it's actually Qing, C-H. And that's confusing because no other English word in our conventional usage has that rule associated with it that Q should be pronounced like CH. So with these sets of rules being so confusing, for a book like this, it's a lot easier if we just spell out words the way that a native English speaker would intuitively know how to sound it out correctly, or as close to the original Chinese as possible. And that's what that is, the translation notes. Okay, so with that quick introduction to the table of contents of the downloadable book, we are now at roughly at the halfway point in our 2-hour meeting today. Yes, that's right, 1 hour has already elapsed. Let's go ahead and take that 5-minute break, the mid-meeting break, and when we come back, should be a little bit after 11:30 or so, we will do the next hour, which will be a combination of the Iguan Dao disciplines and rituals. When we're done with that, we can head directly into 38, and I'll have a few more things to say about 38 at that time. So let's go ahead and take that 5-minute break, everybody. Oh, very good point from Mark. So, guys, if once you have joined the group, if you take a look at this section here, files, you will also see the PDF as a downloadable resource there. And you know, don't know if anyone is interested in the trip to Taiwan, but if you were, there's information there for you. It's I think it's June or July. I think it's July this year. Yeah. So the temple is organizing a trip. There's a master, Cherry Shu, that's in charge of that. She can give you a lot more information. I'll let her know that you're interested, and she'll come around and talk to you. Oh, it's yeah, I forgot. I thought it was July. It's June 11th to the 21st, 10 days. So what I want to do is to take you through a quick tour on some of these things, and also about the general practice of disciplines and rituals. So this is from toward the end of the book. This is the page number. So the book itself is quite thick. That's the glossary. So you're going to see over here a picture of a shrine. This is a large shrine, you know, meant for a lot of people. This is a huge temple, Zhongshu Daoyuan in Taiwan. The typical shrine in the family will be smaller. The commonality, though, is that every shrine will have the flame, the candle in the center. This is the moonlight. So I'll talk a little bit about the character Mu in just a moment. The flame represents the Tao. Lao Mu is a representation of the Tao, is synonymous with the Tao. Now, what about this stuff in the back? Let me simplify. The text to the left and to the right can be different from one shrine to another. However, the text in the center is always going to be the same. And the text in the center is the full name of yet another synonym for the Tao, but it's a different context. So when we say Lao Mu, Lao again means old or ancient. Mu is similar but not the same as the Chinese character for mother. In this context, Lao Mu is the aspect of the Tao that is life-affirming. So when we look around, we see that the world, there's at least a pocket in the universe here on Earth where everything that we need to live and thrive is provided for. That we can see, and science tells us, that whenever life is given a chance to develop, life will happen. So there's even extremophiles, which is organisms that live in incredibly harsh conditions and still are able to reproduce, continue on, etc. So there's a part of the universe, there's an aspect of the Tao, of natural laws, that gives rise to life. We don't completely understand that process, how it goes from the inorganic to the organic. What we do know is that it's here and it's all around us. Therefore, the nurturing, life-giving aspect of the Tao is Lao Mu. Now, Mu is similar to mother because we look to, for human beings, we look to the mother as the source of life, as the source of nurturing. So in that aspect of being life-affirming, the Tao is like the universal mother. Therefore, creation in the Tao context is the opposite of the Western conception. In the Western conception, you have a decidedly male God creator that is the designer and architect of the universe. So the process of creation there is like that of a craftsman, that of a designer, that of an architect, a maker. Whereas in the Tao context, it's more seen as the process of life, of giving the miraculous working of life, the miraculous working of birth. In birth, it's like, wow, a whole new person coming out of nowhere. A person who did not exist only a year ago, now is existing as an infant. That's a miracle, something from nothing. So in the Tao context, it is not a male architect, it's a female birthing mother. So that's Lao Mu. Now, the other aspect of the Tao is what you see here. Ming, Ming, Shang Di. You can tell the first two characters are the same. Ming, Ming, Shang Di. And so that's how you sound it out. Ming, one character by itself means clarity. When you have two together, it means enlightenment. Yeah, when two together, it is for emphasis. And that's what you will see in the first two lines. Shang means up or high or above. Di means ruler. So you can translate it as the highest ruler of enlightenment. So it's synonymous with the Tao in a different aspect in terms of natural laws being the determining factor, overall determining factor in the universe, that everything in the universe is subject to natural laws. Just like all the people in a kingdom are subject to the ruler of that kingdom in that same context. So it's the ultimate principle governing everything. Of course, we haven't completely figured out the ultimate principle, whatever that can be. We have a theorized GUT, the Grand Unified Theory, the theory for everything. We're actually getting closer and closer to figuring out the details of that. So the LHC, the Large Hadron Collider in Europe, is going to be, we're actually pretty close to to what they call the second run. The first run of the Large Hadron Collider was the run that affirmed, proved, found the existence of the Higgs boson. And we can, I know the people that are listening, there's quite a few that are interested to talk more about that. We certainly can. It's something that I enjoy talking about as well. So for instance, when we say, but not all of us enjoy talking about it, I'll just say that questions like, Higgs boson, what is it for? The Higgs field, what is that? How can you say that the Higgs field gives everything mass? How does that work? Turns out there are very simple and interesting answers to those questions, which perhaps we can talk about at lunchtime. For now, we will focus on other things. So natural laws, remember, the ultimate natural laws, we haven't really all figured out. We just know that there's something out there that governs everything. We haven't understood all the mysteries yet. But that natural law, that ultimate natural law, ultimate principle, whatever that is synonymous with the Tao. So when we say 明明上帝, we're talking about the Tao, but the aspect of the Tao specifically focusing on the natural laws that govern everything. And when we say 老母, we're specifically talking about the aspect of the Tao that gives life to all life. So here, I want to point out that this is explained in the glossary, 明明上帝, and you will see the 4 characters as being the top 4 characters there. They are a little bit compressed in the photo, in the actual writing, because there are many characters here, but it's 1, 2, 3, 4 characters, and you will see 1, 2, 3, 4 characters here. They're the same characters. Okay, so, and then in the glossary, there is also an entry for Iguan Dao. And that is, so here I talk about the actual pronunciation, Iguan Dao, like that. And the meaning of the individual characters, Yi means one, Guan means through, Dao means the path, together. It means the Tao that unites all things. Now, there are many other entries to the glossary. I think it goes on for about 4 pages, perhaps 20 entries or so. I've selected the most important terms. Definitely in the future, if you identify other terms, I can also provide working definitions for those. These are just the terms that are required to understand this particular book, the book on rituals and disciplines. So that's the very last section there. So what else does the book offer? Let's take a look. So going on a little bit more in the glossary. So if you take a look at Mu light, so Mu Den in Chinese, so this character here, this is the character for Mu. It's like the character for mother, but turned 90 degrees. So Mu Den, I put the cover of my Dao De Jing translation here because this is what the Mu Den looks like. So, and here I explain that is the same character as Lao Mu, and that this is the most important element in the shrine. It's a principle, it's a force, it's not a human-like deity, and therefore we should never represent it with an actual carving of a human face. And then there's characters in the back here, 无极, meaning without boundary. So this is all found in the glossary as well. And here, 坛主, this is the entry on shrine owner, and this is talking about basically the position that is occupied by Ed and Bill, both of them. So the meaning of having this position is explained in this entry. And here we also have a couple of characters here. Mu Tan. Tan means shrine. Mu, M-U, the same as here. So they are both owners of the Iguan Dao shrine, Mu Tan. And this ownership comes with responsibilities to serve as an example for other people. So they have to be the ones to practice the rituals every day. Not everyone is willing to commit to that. They have to take the vegetarian vow, what I call the cleansing ritual here, Qingkou. There's an entry on that, where you, and it's called the cleansing ritual, not the vegetarian vow, because the idea is to become a vegetarian, refrain from eating meat, which is, death of the animal, and therefore eating the death of a vegetable is the cleansing part. Of course, medical doctors would also tell you that when you follow a diet like that properly, you're also cleansing your blood vessels, your inner organs for better health. But the other elements for the cleansing ritual that is part of the vow is that you don't want to have bad things come in, which is flesh of animals. You also don't want to have bad things going out, which is what you say to other people. Through the mouth, you can be telling untruth. You can be saying something that's misleading. You can be criticizing, scolding. You can be cursing. All of these things that come out of the mouth are things to be cleansed when one takes the cleansing ritual. So both Bill and Ed have gone through this process. And let me talk about the difference that it has made in these two gentlemen. From roughly 20 years ago, it's difficult to change one's nature as a doubting Thomas. So as a hardened skeptic, I was not always as respectful as I am today. On rituals, I always had these doubts. I always thought, well, is it really necessary? I asked the same questions that other people ask about rituals, other skeptics. I too was very heavily mired in the academic study of the Tao. What changed my mind? Well, I'm here to tell you that the people who are willing to take on the disciplines of the rituals, I see dramatic difference in them, no exception. So Bill talks about it all the time when he does his presentations, and it is the same for Ed. And then, as I see Ed go through the rituals, I realized one thing, and that is, like other people, I too have developed a great, profound respect for him and for Bill because of their discipline on themselves to go through that ritual every day. There's a level of trust that I have for them that goes beyond anything that I had before, because I now understand that they have dedicated themselves with a commitment that is beyond my powers to make for myself. They're doing something that I cannot. They're doing something that I haven't had the ability to do yet. And therefore, they are worthy to serve as examples, not just for other people, but for me as well. So with that realization and looking at the changes in their lives, I now comprehend the meaning and the purpose behind the rituals. So that's the reason why I will continue on always respecting the people who are willing to take the path to become a shrine owner. These are the exceptional individuals. So moving on. So this is the other section that I was referring to, talking about the 15 disciplines. So first of all, let me break down the characters for you, one by one. The first character, 4, that means Buddha. Gui, second character, means discipline. And then we have the cross again. If you guys recall from just a moment ago, that means 10, followed by 5. So 10 and 5 together is 15. And Tao, that's a unit. So like rules in this case. So it's like Buddha's discipline, 15 rules would be the straightforward, literal translation. And usually we just call it the 15 disciplines. So you can see, and here we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So there are 4 entries here in Chinese, and the specifics again in Chinese. And here are the translations. So the first one, Revere the Buddhas. So Buddhas are the macro equivalents of the shrine owners. The Buddhas are the avatars. They are the representations of virtues. They are the ones that are even more accomplished. They are the ones that have attained enlightenment, and therefore they are worthy examples for us to follow as well. So that is why we choose to revere them. So the entry here is a straight translation of the entry here. So if you want to see the flavor of religious writing in Chinese, you can look at the English and get that flavor. So number 1 is to revere the Buddhas. Number 2, respecting the seniors and mentor the novices. So this is 2 aspects. It's like, past and future. The seniors represent the past. They're the ones that blaze the trail for us to walk on, and novices are those to come, those that are just getting started. So the assumption is that you should be at least a mid-level Tao cultivator as you're looking at this. So you have some seniors, you have some people that are your mentors that you look up to. At the same time, you have people that you can mentor. And this process is actually important. I am not sure that this is talked about in other Tao traditions that I have seen, but here it is extremely important that you not just benefit from the mentoring of other people, but take on an active role to mentor other people that you have the karmic affinity to connect with. So this doesn't mean to impose on someone or to volunteer to tell people things before they ask. This happens, ideally, this should happen naturally as you live your life cultivating the Tao, and people start to pay attention to you. And they'll say things that perhaps you do not expect. One thing that people say to me that I never expected at the office is that, well, Derek is Derek is the calmest one of all. I'm like, what? No, I get mad. I get pretty annoyed. At my coworkers, at the customers, I get annoyed at everybody. I'm not calm. So they say that about me, which I guess is telling me that there's some effect from cultivation that is becoming evident to other people. So regardless of who you are, myself included, we all want to continue cultivating until the effect of the cultivation is evident to other people without us trying to make a show of it. And therefore, when they come back to you and say something to compliment you, it may take you by surprise. What? Me? Are you sure you're talking about me? Really? Me? That's when you know you have done something, and that is also when you become eligible for the role of a mentor. The role of a mentor, it happens when someone comes to you for advice. And it may be that, well, I am troubled at the moment. I don't know what to do, but you always have your stuff together. You always seem to know exactly what to do and what to say, so can you give me some advice? When you have someone come to you like that, that's your call to be a mentor. If you haven't had that yet, it's because you haven't cultivated enough yet. You haven't reached that level where you actually begin to draw attention without you trying to draw attention. So mentor the novice. And then number 3, be restrained, dignified, centered, and principled. So this goes back to having that compass, having that center, having your code of honor. And this talks quite a bit about, restraint and discipline, indicating that in the Tao, it's not all just flowing with it. That's just part of the picture. And lastly, on this page, obviously we're talking about 4 different principles here, but there's 11 other principles for you to explore. This is just a taste of it. Number 4, follow rules and observe boundaries. So the idea is to be aware of where you are, what the setting is, what the prevailing norms are, and being able to observe those. So, of course, there's going to be people who say that, well, rules don't apply to me. I just do whatever I want in accordance with the Tao. Well, actually, the true paradigm of the Tao is that you can break the rules, but first you have to completely understand the rules and the reason for the rules. If you think about it, when I provide a completely new system to help people sound out the Chinese characters in English, that's actually breaking the rules, quote unquote, because I'm not following 2 established systems of romanization. Formal systems recognized by scholars and academia on how to spell out Chinese words. I'm breaking their rules, but that's because I completely understand what those rules are. And therefore, I understand the shortcoming, I understand the reason why some of them need to be modified. So it's okay to break the rules. Problem happens when most of us break the rules and think they don't apply to us before we actually figure out all about the rules, figure out everything about the rules. Now, when you get to that point, you have the liberty of modifying the rules, but before that, which is most of us, in most aspects of life, got to follow the rules. So that's number 4. To the people who say, well, but what if the rules don't make sense? What if the rules are counterproductive? Then I will say, you have to understand them completely to have a 100% certain conclusion that they are rules that contribute to negativity and that don't make sense. Okay, so there's a whole section, you can tell by the page numbers, starts on page 8, about the meaning of rituals. It goes on for about 4 pages. And this is to answer questions that I have seen many, many times in the past. Why are rituals more important than the exchange of thoughts and rational discussions? Aren't rituals just a way to create an unnatural spirituality? And I can completely see, I can guess that there must be other people that are asking similar questions. So the section, the meaning of rituals, is an attempt to answer these questions. I'll go ahead and provide quick, short answers now. First of all, rituals are not more important than the exchange of thoughts and rational discussions. And there's no claim that they are. However, they are also not less important than the exchange of thoughts and rational discussion. There's actually no claim being made either way as to the relative importance of rituals and discussions. My personal view is that they are equally important. They serve different aspects of your Tao cultivation. Secondly, are rituals just a way to create an unnatural spirituality? I would say that depends on how you utilize rituals. Rituals are just rituals. They are powerless without a human being to utilize them. When a human being utilizes a ritual, it can be used for whatever effect that you have in mind to accomplish. In the article that I have here, The Meaning of Rituals, I outlined the reasons and the purpose for which one should be practicing rituals. And it is certainly not to create an unnatural spirituality. If you were to interact with Ed and Bill, you quickly see that these are not people with an unnatural spirituality. Indeed, these are people with an exceptionally strong, natural, and very positive, very powerful spirituality. And rituals have a lot to do with it. So for those who are interested, there's plenty more to read about. From out of all this, I just want to extract a couple of points for you to consider. If you think that rituals are just a way to create an unnatural spirituality, I would ask you to consider the rituals that we already have, like the marriage rituals, like funeral rituals. So I would then ask you to consider, is the ritual of marriage something that is used to create an unnatural matrimony? And I hope the answer is certainly not. And rituals associated with funerals, are those intended to create an unnatural death? And I hope you will see that as a rhetorical question. Certainly not. So we ourselves already practice numerous personal rituals throughout the day. I discovered that when I'm in the gym, before I start working out, I always have to go to the water fountain and take a drink of water. I'm not really thirsty, but it puts me in the right frame of mind. Like, okay, now I'm ready to attack that Stairmaster. That's my ritual. It works for me. It helps me. It gets me into the right mindset. It is the same thing in the numerous rituals that we develop for ourselves throughout the day. It gets you into the right mindset. It is the same for the rituals in the Iguan Dao tradition. It gets you into the right mindset. Sometimes that mindset is the mindset of inspiration, the mindset of being in touch with spirituality. If you see that, then yes, you are exactly right. That is the purpose.